think we need to look at this problem in we need to break it down actually. The moment you look at the trade deficit of 60 billion, it's actually, I think in the FY20 we will end with 49. The previous year was, as Harsh said, close to about 53, and before that it was 63. So 63 in 17, 18, then 53, and now 49. It's a big number. So there's no point in attacking the number as a whole, because there are several areas where we do not really have. Where the dependence on China will stay. It's unfortunate, but you are not going to basically be able to replace that immediately. What matters is to understand what you can really replace from China, and I'll give you some examples. Okay, see, if you look at the items which there are, for which the total import value is, let's say, less than $100 million, right? There are several such items, about 800 products, where the import values of each standalone is less than 100 million, but the combined value of the imports is about $4 billion. Okay, and these include stuff like, wide variety of things like organic chemicals, machinery, textile, tools, metals, toys, furniture, stone items, decorative items, plastic kind of stuff, and several like ceramic products and so on, right? So these are the things which there's no reason why India cannot replace that pretty much straight away. It's not very complicated manufacturing. Plus, we do have manufacturers also in India, so it's not like we have no one making these. And as the recent example of the PPE equipment and even the ventilators show that basically if your processes work in tandem with your risk takers, where government supports a quick ramp up, it only takes 2 to 3 months to really make a real difference. So, for example, for PPE equipment, India had 2 manufacturers in end of Feb when the pandemic hit us. Today, we are like the second largest exporter, or we could be the second largest exporter if the export was allowed of some of the protective equipment. So this about 800 products where we have very little. Value-wise, it's not much basically, right? But we are just importing it because we have become lazy. And as Harsh said, manufacturers have become traders. So they would rather close their factory and import from China because that is cheaper. Yeah. So I think that, of course, and as Rajiv said, like a lot of this happens in the MSME sector. So the reforms which have been talked about, hopefully, some of them will play out. But as players become even fractionally more competitive, it doesn't need to mean that we have to become cheaper than China. Actually, people may, because at a unit level we're talking about a few rupees of extra cost, right? So it's not going to hurt too much for the consumer. But at an aggregate level, even if your productivity improves by let's say a reasonable fraction, 15-20%, that can make a whole lot of difference to part of the imports. So we need to break down this entire deficit of 50-60 billion which we incur, and then target it phase by phase and make like a 2 to 3 year plan where we can reduce it over. The deficit has been built over 17 years. We were about $500 million in deficit at the start of the century. We were actually in almost neck to neck in 97, 98. The deficit started in 2000, and Harsh said starting 2003 it has just ballooned. So from almost $500 million, we have gone to a peak of 63 billion at the end of FY 2017. So you cannot undo this in one stroke. It's not an electrical switch where you just switch on, switch off. But over 2-3 years, you can easily reduce it by, let's say, half. And that should be very realistic.